Well, thank you so much for having me. I am just, I never heard of the Passion Talk till 2 or 3 months ago, and I'm such a big fan. It's kind of like that Bradley Cooper movie, is that his name? That Limitless movie, taking that pill and the mind expanding. I feel like that's what I'm doing. Yesterday I was just sitting there and the mind was just like, man, trying to keep up, and I love it. I just love it. Some things were above my head, but I was trying to keep up with it. So I'm a big fan of this. I'm going to talk this up from now on. I hope this lasts 100 years, and man, when we're old and in VR, or maybe there's going to be Passion Talks VR, we'll have that going on too. But if you don't mind, I'm going to start out in virtual reality for the talk. My name is DJ Soto. I'm the lead pastor of Virtual Reality Church. This church is the first church to exist in VR. And I'm going to show you the church, if you don't mind. I'm going to kind of tab over here. And I believe everyone can see my first-person point of view. And I'm going to tell you the story about Virtual Reality Church, but really I want to stir your imagination to the possibilities. Because you think of having social media is a requirement, in your church, your ministry, in your business, or a website. The online presence is imperative. I think in the same way, virtual reality, augmented reality, that's in the next 2 years, the next 5 years, I'm not sure how long it's going to be the same way. It's like you wouldn't think to not have social media, Facebook, or you wouldn't think to not have a website. And in VR and AR that's coming, it's the same idea. And I want to tell you the story of Virtual Reality Church. And you can see my first-person point of view. And this is our church building. But you know what? This is actually, I guess, not the best way to say it, because this really isn't the church. The church is actually behind me. So I'm going to turn around, and here are some of our church members from Virtual Reality Church. What's up, guys? What's going on? Good to see you guys. How's everybody doing? All right.
They're here right now.
Can you guys, is the audio from the, wait, hold on one second, guys. Is the audio coming through from this speaker thing at all? I don't know if that's turned on. Is that turned on in the sound booth? I'll just keep going if not. Yeah. It is turned on?
Yeah. We're not going to hear it though.
Okay, you can hear me. Anyway, so this is the Virtual Reality Church. And let's see here. I've got people from all over the world. And I'm just going to reboot this room because they're saying they can't hear me as well. So I'm just going to kind of pop in real quick. It's just going to do a quick reboot. And here we go. Can you guys hear me now? Check, 1, 2. Oh, very good. All right, they can hear me. So I was hoping that you'd be able to hear them, so I'm just going to introduce you to some of my core team. This is the leaders. This is the church of virtual reality. People from all across the world. This is Alina. Alina, how are you doing? Good to see you. People can't hear you, but they can see your hand motions. They can see emojis coming out of your head. And so it's good to see you, Alina, and one of our leaders, Anna Marie. Hey, Anna Marie, good to see you. I like the heart thing going on there. And this is some of the people from our church. And these are people that I dearly love, that are very important to the ministry. And, we talk about how Virtual Reality Church would not be possible without these people that you see right here. All these individual leaders, volunteers, moderators, admins, this is the life of the church. They serve every week. They sacrifice time and energy every week to be a part of our church. They're from all across the world. And so I'm going to tell you I'm going to get out of VR here so I can look at you face to face for those of you that are here. And by the way, those that are with me physically at Passion Talk, let's give a big applause because they can hear you. I have a microphone attached to this for my church right here, Virtual Reality Church. Let's all clap and say thank you so much for what you've done. You guys can hear them. Yeah. And and Passion Talks, you're getting emojis from all across the world. So thanks so much, guys. And so, hey, guys, I'll catch you tomorrow at church. I'm going to go finish my talk, so we'll see you later. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just go quickly through our story about Virtual Reality Church. And I think what happens when I explain Virtual Reality Church, I kind of feel like this. My favorite movie of all time. I'm going to show that to you. And this is my favorite movie of all time. It is is the Matrix. And so I'm not sure why that air parrot is there, but we'll just kind of roll with it. And so the Matrix, right? Morpheus tells Neo this key thing. He says, you can't explain what the Matrix is. You have to experience it for yourself. And man, that's like virtual reality church for me. When I connect with people, we're pastors or strangers, passing through, they said, what's this virtual reality church? Man, I said, it's hard to explain and you have to experience it. But let me tell you the story real quick. This is our family. We were pastors, my wife and I, at a mega church in Pennsylvania, sensed that God wanted us to do something different. We didn't know what that meant. We were kind of confused. I'm giving you 30 seconds, like 2 years and 30 seconds. And we sensed God wants us to do something new. And we didn't know what that was. It was a difficult time because we were comfortable with the salary, the health benefits, the 501, retirement. And so we thought, okay, God wants us to plant physical churches, but little did we know that he actually wanted us to plant virtual reality churches. And that's our current mission. So virtual reality came out, and my family were gamers, we're geeks, Fortnite, Overwatch, all those things. My kids are probably playing that right now, and they're probably playing in our travel trailer. We travel full-time for our ministry to raise awareness, to raise support, to spread the word about what VR church is all about, because it's different, it's new, it's actually a paradigm shift. And I didn't even think of it in those terms until I was hosting VR church at a friend's house, because as we travel, sometimes the internet's bad, and I was in his garage, I was leading a church, and I believe he's of faith, but he doesn't go to church every week type of thing. And he watched me for a couple minutes, went back to where my wife was in the living room and said, or he went to the kids and said, guys, your dad's doing a paradigm shift. And I was like, man, I think there's some truth to that. And so VR came out, and it was great. Games, movies, experiences, we loved it. It was a lot of fun. And then the social spaces for VR started to come out, and specifically AltSpace VR. So AltSpace VR is like a social platform in virtual reality. I mean, what's it like? Well, it's like here. There's people walking around, you're talking, you're hanging out. It's like the same exact thing. And so I noticed in AltSpace VR that you could hold events. So here's an AltSpace event about space talks, NASA, SpaceX, and people from all over the world were gathered. And I could see that you can manipulate the screen, and I thought it was amazing. So I created an avatar, and this was summer of 2016. Summer of 2016, I went to AltSpace. I was just there an hour. It was on a Friday, and I thought to myself, man, we can have a church service here. This is a viable place to do church. So on a Friday, 2 days later, I had my first church service in virtual reality. And it was amazing for me. So you think of a physical church planner. If 5 people came to their launch service, that'd be like a devastating experience, right? So for me, 5 people showed up in my launch service, and I was excited. I was pumped. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. So here's an image of our first church service. Our first visitor was a guy from Denmark who was an atheist. And he was like, man, I don't believe in God, but I'm just curious about what VR church is all about. And little did we know, for lack of better words, little did we know we'd have a ministry towards atheists and agnostics. As a matter of fact, haven't done like official surveys, but we would say about 50% of our people are of faith or, claim to be part of a religion, and the other 50 is atheism. So it's pretty amazing. So we were doing video teaching. I hadn't developed my teaching gift. I was part of a campus pastor, but it was more facilitating the experience at that campus rather than teaching. And I just realized quickly video teaching didn't work. So I said, I need to start preaching. As I started doing the services, 0 people would show up, 5 people would show up, 1 people would show up. It didn't bother me. I was like, I wanted to do a full service every Sunday, whether anyone showed up or not, because I wanted people as they popped in to be able to expect, oh, this guy is serious, and every Sunday there's going to be a church service here. And that led to a little community that started to form. People started to show up, started to be a part of it. They saw I was serious about it. They saw that I was preparing for the sermons and the music and all those elements that you would have in a church plant. I was going 100% in. And so also, too, we decided, we need a little bit of a structure. So we created an elder board, and here's an elder board meeting out in space. So maybe the first elder board meeting out near the moon, and so we gathered some guys and created some leadership. This picture is amazing because on a gentleman I didn't know, he sent me this image on Facebook. This is his son. He thought his son was playing video games or watching movies, and he didn't know his son was going to church. And so he was amazed by that. He was like, "Wow, my son's going to church. That's phenomenal." One of the questions I get is it possible to have community in VR? Or, won't people be fake? Won't there be a sense of lack of authenticity? And actually, we found the opposite to be true. Because of the anonymity of the avatar, it leads to deep authenticity. So, I've been a pastor 20 years, small churches, mega churches, traditional, modern, all these forms of churches, and I've never had this conversations that I do that I've had in VR, as far as I just meet someone and they're talking to me right away about their atheist or views, or maybe their depression or suicide, and right away, just in the few seconds that I've met them. And so here's one of our volunteers on the right, Bob Mann. He's from England. On the left, he is an atheist, and he would come to our church frequently. This kid is from Boston, and met him in 30 seconds. He was talking about depression, and he's never been to church, and he wants to come be a part of our church. And that's the interactions. I'm just giving you like the little glimpse, the scratch on the surface of all these amazing things that are happening in VR Church. We got a new building, so to speak, and you can see the community starting to grow there. People are starting to come more faithfully. A core group starting to form. I'm preaching every week. That's new for me, and I'm developing that gift, and God's really kind of increased that gift inside me as I've been leading the church. And this is one of our elders. Brian here is on the left, and he's talking with another atheist here on the right. A lot of conversation, a lot of community, and at times I just think sometimes it even supersedes the physical. Sometimes I totally get being together physically and coming together and surrounding a meal, but oftentimes too in VR that conversation gets quick, gets deep very quickly and authentically. So who's Tanabe? Well, Tanabe is a sushi chef from Japan, and he had created like a medieval church building. I saw it. I was like, "Oh, Tanabe, I would love to have that church building. Can we turn it into, something that I could use for VR Church?" There's a little bit of a language barrier from Tanabe, and so he said, "Send me pictures." So I sent him a picture of this like crystal amphitheater, just for colors and style. And then he came back 3 days later with our current church building that we now gather, that you saw that I was doing in virtual reality. And this is a ribbon cutting experience. Tanabe's on the right. And if you notice the hands, as you saw in VR, when people raise their hands in the physical world, their avatar matches that same movement. So when I'm preaching, people see me, doing these hand movements. They see me turning my head. I can teleport. So if I was right here and I wanted to make a point over there, I'd be like immediately on that side of the room. So I'd even climb the church roof to make some certain points. And, so it's a lot of fun. So the community is growing. People are, there's a core group forming, leadership forming, and our style, my wife and I, as we pastor this church, is, we just want to raise up gifts. We want to empower people. We want to dig up what spiritual gift is inside them, and we just want to unleash them. And so that is what we're doing with these people. As a matter of fact, and this is a big deal. It might not sound like a big deal maybe here, but, this Sunday is the first Sunday where I'm just going to kind of sit back, watch the volunteers do the vision and the welcome and the music and even the preaching. So that's a significant part of the life of our church coming up this Sunday. So the church is starting to grow. People are starting to attend. And, it's just been an amazing experience. I wish I could, tell you more about all the conversations and the life change and the leadership opportunities. Here's an image of life groups in VR. So we have our large gathering on Sunday, and then during the week we have 2 virtual reality life groups, and here is our group just kind of gathering together, talking about the Sunday service. So we also have a Discord server, if you're familiar with Discord. So we have large gathering, life groups, and we have the Discord server, and that's kind of like the life of our church. Some people say, what's VR Church like? Well, it's very probably similar to what your church like, particularly in a church plant type of situation. So that's kind of what I described there with Discord life groups and large gathering. We had a special Christmas service, and my son designed some of these models. We had an amazing time there. We also had Easter service. Biz Mickey is from Europe, and he's just a leader in our church, a gifting pastor. And so just for sake of time, I'm just going to run through just a couple of things before we go. We had virtual reality baptisms, the first baptisms in VR. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that response. Yeah, I don't usually get that. People more like, well, I don't know about that. You know, so that was that. I appreciate that. Virtual reality baptisms. Here is Brian.
Go back, tell about that logo.
Oh, yes, the logo, thanks. The logo, special story, two-second version of it. It was designed by a kid named Henry. He's like 20-some. He's quadriplegic from an accident, I believe, as a firefighter, and he draws with his teeth, and somehow we got connected with him. I think our elder, Brian, got him a VR headset, and Henry put the stylus in his mouth and designed that logo that you see up there. So that's like incredible. Here's our baptism with Brian getting baptized as an elder. But you know, this is our church. This is our community that we love. And I'm just going to skip ahead to a couple of things right here just for time. People ask us what is next for Virtual Reality Church. And what's next for us is we're going to plant more churches. We're in the AltSpace VR platform, but there's a bunch of other platforms, Sansar, High Fidelity, VR Chat. So that's kind of like saying we're planting in the US, or now we're going to go plant in Europe, and now we're going to plant in China. Same idea, just in virtual reality. So thanks so much, guys, for taking the time to listen to our story.